No way am I making the same mistake I made last week here on 990 WBOB. Good Lord. We had such a circus last week. We had people popping in and out. I'm not making that mistake this week. It is International Live here on 990 WBOB. Yes, indeed, indeed. And KJagradio.com. And, of course, DJ Dan is with us from the United Kingdom. How are you, sir?
I'm struggling a bit with internet issues. So apologies if I keep dropping in and out.
Not
today.
a problem. Not a problem. You're good.
I think my computer's running a bit slow. But we've had a crazy schedule today. We've got, I think, coming on Skype.
Yes.
Sophia Gilani.
Yes. Let me see if I can...
First, and we need to spend about 20 minutes with her. And then we've got the coupler on Zoom.
Okay.
And we need to spend about 20 minutes with them. And then we've got this other guy who's just rang me now, who's going to come onto the Zoom at about 10:45. So in quarter to. So we've got
excellent.
So we've got at least 3 people to get through. I completely forgot about the last guy altogether, and he's just rang my mobile phone now.
Let's see here. I think I've got maybe I don't know.
Piece it together somehow.
I will, as always.
Did I fall off then?
No, you're still with us. You're still with us. I am trying to piece all the
It's not Morris, it's Sophia Gilani today.
Yes. I don't know. Let me do this. I'm going to get out of this Skype call. And I am going to call Dan back, but I am going to get Sophie in here.
A lot closer than Jiggy, anyway.
I'm across the road in Whaley Bridge.
Oh, lovely. Well,
and also, I'm not happy with your lot. You beat Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I stay clear of football now, to be honest. Yeah. Well, Rick, this will get played in Leicester on Friday on 107.5 FM.
Oh, okay. Brilliant.
Radio station over here. So I'll try and tag you in some social media or let you know when that's going out. But it's normally in our drive time hour, 5 till 6 p.m.
Brilliant. Okay. And does it go out in America as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We go out each and every Sunday in Rhode Island on 990 WBOB and also KJagradio.com.
Okay.
So.
Well, a cracking spot, Rhode Island.
Really?
I've never been.
Yeah. I love it. I've been there many times. It's great.
That's
got good lobster there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So Rick, tell us a little bit about your musical background, and then we'll get into a little bit more here with you.
Okay. Well, my musical background. I mean, I'm a drummer. You know, I was a founder member of 10 Years After, and I've been a drummer ever since. There's only Churchill and myself left now under the 10 Years After banner. Sadly, Alvin Lee died in 2013, and Leo and Joe Gooch, who was with us previously, they decided to go do their own thing, so Chick and I carried on. But I started, my brother, my eldest brother, Peter, was the biggest influence on that. He had a wind-up gramophone. I'm going back a bit before you guys were born. He used to buy these jazz records. He was very much into American traditional jazz. We used to get them on the Brunswick label and the old Columbia label, which was actually blue and silver in those days. I forgot, it was 12th Street Rag was one I remember, and South Rampart Street Parade, both instrumental things, New Orleans style jazz. And so we then picked up knitting needles and started tapping along with that, you know. So that's how it started.
I've seen on the paperwork and the information we get sent through that you performed at the Woodstock Festival in New York in 1960s, was it? Late 60s?
69.
That was it.
August the 15th, 1969.
What was that like? I mean, it's a different time altogether.
It was big. It was the first time that they had a crowd that big anywhere in rock music. It was, I don't know, the estimates are between 300,000 and 500,000. Nobody really knows how many turned up. The ironic thing was that our agent was trying to sell it to our manager, and our manager didn't want to know about it because he didn't think the fee was good enough. So he kept saying, the agent kept saying, well, look, this is going to be big. They're expecting 50,000 people. Well, funnily enough, 2 months earlier, we played at the Seattle Pop Festival, which had 50,000 people there, 3-day festival. And because we were constantly on tour during the early 60s, sorry, late 60s, I beg your pardon, 67, 68, 69. We've been playing a lot of clubs. We were playing auditoria. We were building quite nicely. But anyway, finally, Frank Barcelona, our agent, phoned up our manager, Chris Wright, and said, look, you're going to be crazy if you don't do this. Janis Joplin's agreed to do it. The Who are doing it. Jefferson Airplane are doing it. And Jimi Hendrix is just signing. So you'd be crazy not to do this. And in fact, I believe we were touring a lot with Jeff Beck Group in those days. Jeff had a big hit with the Truth album in the States, which was Ronnie Wood on bass, Rod Stewart on vocals, and Mickey Waller on drums, and Jeff. And we'd done a lot of work together in England, and our first 2 American tours, we did a lot of support gigs with Jeff. And so Frank had sold the package to Woodstock, but Jeff never turned up because Rod and Ronnie and Mickey were stuck in a hotel at New York at JFK, waiting to go home to finish their tour. He said, well, you can't go yet. You're going to go play a festival up in upstate New York. We'll get back to you. We're going to get you a private plane and fly you up there. You do the show and then come back and fly home. But the next thing was they got a phone call saying that Jeff had already left for England because he'd had a phone call that his wife was having an affair with the gardener. So he went, which didn't turn out not to be true. But I think it was a good story at the time for Jeff.
Amazing.
Jeff and I used to be neighbours. We were neighbours in Kent. I like Jeff. He's a good guy.
Wow, that's a serious audience and some serious, people you've performed with. What got you into music?
Well, as I say earlier, my brother really was my eldest brother.
Oh yeah,
was the man, and then I wanted to play drums. I decided that's definitely what I wanted to do. But Mum and Dad said, well, we can't afford to buy you any drums. If you want them, you have to get the money together and get them yourself. But Mum helped me out because she said there was the local butchers down the road from us were looking for a delivery boy on Saturday mornings. So I went and I got the job delivering the fresh meat to the various houses. And I got 10 shillings a week for that, which I don't know what that would be in dollars. It's 50 pence now. So what would that be in dollars? That's about
75p.
Yeah.
75 cents.
Yeah, 75 cents maybe, or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But and that's what I got a week for delivering this meat. It used to take me 2 to 3 hours to do it on a Saturday morning. And I saved up the money to buy this snare drum and stand, which cost me £7, 10 shillings, which in today's money is probably about £10. And
Wow.
My mum and dad actually did buy me a pair of sticks. And that's how I got started. And then gradually I added bits to it. I got gifts from various drummers that I knew and gradually put a kit together. And then formed a band locally, or joined a band locally with a guitarist and two guitarists actually at a grammar school nearby. And they had a singer who was at a different school, and he knew a bass player, and that's how we got together. And that was called Ricky Storm and the Tornadoes.
Wow.
Awesome.
We had to change the name from Tornadoes because there was a band came along with a #1 record in America and UK called Telstar. And they were called the Tornadoes. So in those days, if you had there was a popular band or a band that big, they would sue you and get the name. So we had to change our name. We became Ricky Storm and the Stormcats.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And then we became the Stormcats because Ricky Storm went off to university. He was the singer. And we got in a bass player singer, and then there was a 4-piece. And then we changed our name to the Mansfields, which was the town in which we came from. And then I joined a couple of guys called Alvin Lee and Leo Lyons, who were in a band called the Jaybirds, the biggest sounding trio in the country. It was their strapline.
Yeah, I've definitely heard of the Jaybirds.
Yeah. And then Chick Churchill joined us, and in 1967 we became 10 years after.
Brilliant.
Wow.
It's all in my book, by the way. You know I've got a book out there.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. That's called From Headstocks to Woodstock. So if you want the detail on these stories, that's the thing to get.
Where can we find that? Is that on Amazon? Can we download that from Amazon?
It is on Amazon, but it's preferable if you order it from RicLeeTYA.com. And that's RicLeeTYA.com. And that way, if you do that, you can get a dedication if you want a dedication from me, whereas the Amazon ones aren't signed.
No, sure.
And also by going to that same website, you can get a personal dedication if you want. On the order form, there's a space to say, I would like you to say to me, dear Fred, thanks for being a fan for all these years, or whatever you want,
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we'll definitely try and send people to your site rather than to Amazon then, because yeah, people are going to want it autographed or something anyway, at least.
Yeah,
yeah.
Amazon's rich enough anyway.
Yeah, they make loads of money.
So your book, what was the writing process like to bring this thing from ideas that you had in your head to reality?
Well, I started actually. When I was at school, I had a bit of a reputation for starting stories and never finishing them. Although I was always given very good marks for the stories, they liked me as a writer, but they never quite got finished. And this particular book was in danger of that. I started it about 10 years ago, well, more than 10 years ago now. But when I first started, and I was at it for about 5 years, and then decided I probably wasn't going to finish it. So I stopped. And then I was talking to a friend of mine in Los Angeles who is actually the agent for sort of after dinner speakers and university speakers that go around and do college lecturing and stuff like that. And she said, she found out that I do a one-man talk as well, called From Headstocks to Woodstock. I was doing that before the book was finished. And she said, I'd like to help you with that. Maybe I can book you, in America. Do you have a book? I said, well, I've got a half a book. So she said, well, get it finished. So 5 years after we had that conversation, I finished it. But I enjoyed the writing process very much. And I was lucky. I had my own diaries, but there was a guy called Herb Starr, who was a very good friend of ours and was a big fan of the bands. And he'd done a pictorial history called Alvin Lee and 10 years after. And that was all done in chronological order. And Herb also sent me amazing stuff. But some of it I've not, to be honest, to this day, I've not had a chance to look at. He sent me stacks of videos of clips that he'd found from news and all sorts, and ticket stubs from virtually all the gigs we ever did. And it was just incredible, the store of stuff he sent. But I was able to use that pictorial history as the skeleton of the book. And then when I came to a certain part, I thought, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember what happened. Then I could add my own stories. So my stories then became the flesh on that skeleton. And so that's how it came together. And I thoroughly enjoyed doing it.
That is awesome. That is awesome. You've put together, I think it's great where you said, where she asked you, do you have a book? And you're like, well, I got to have one.
It was true.
So
also, I was originally going to write from when I was born to whatever age I was at that point, we had that conversation. And then I thought, well, it's going to take me, I'll never get it done. It's going to be forever. So I thought, well, how can I finish this on a high? And of course, the obvious answer was to finish it at Woodstock. But I have to say, I've started the second one. But whether that'll get finished in my lifetime is anybody's guess.
That is tremendous. So, what's been the feedback from folks that have seen your music and this book and been fans over the years, or have discovered the book and then discovered your music? What's been kind of some of the feedback you've gotten on all this?
Well, interesting. I mean, we've got a new album coming out. Well, it's not a new album. We made it in about 2017 in Europe, and it went out with a record label that we've been dealing with for more than 10 years over there, and it's done fantastically well. We have it in vinyl as well as CD, and obviously digital. And then this company in America called Deko, D-E-K-O Entertainment, wanted to take the album, and they've put it together, and they've called it A Sting in the Tail, which is the original title of the studio album. And then they've added 4 live tracks from a subsequent album we did called Naturally Live, one of which is I'd Love to Change the World, which was a big hit for us in 1970 in the States. And they're calling it A Sting in the Tail Deluxe Edition. That's coming out on March 19th. And I'm doing, the PR man, Chip, has got me running ragged doing interviews here, there, and everywhere. It's really nice to talk to you guys. And I'm plugging the book, I'm plugging the album. Also in, I think it's June or July, Chrysalis Records, our old label, who still have the back catalogue of the band with all the stuff with Arvin Lee on it.
Yep.
I've got the 6 or 7 tracks we actually played at Woodstock, which has never been out before. And that's coming out, I think, June or July. And I believe in the States, it's certainly going to be on vinyl in the States. I assume they'll do the same in UK and Europe. I've not found out yet. And then in October this year, it's the 50th anniversary of the Space in Time album, which was our first gold record in the States on Columbia Records with Clive Davis. And I'd Love to Change the World that's the first time it showed up as a studio recording. So it's quite, in a bizarre sense, we can't gig at the moment, but because we're a live band, it's what we do. But we can't gig at the minute, but we've got a hell of a lot happening for us this year with all this anniversary stuff and the new album and one thing and another, you know. It's bizarre.
Yeah, things work out, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rick, before we let you go, my friend, how do we get the book? Where do we send people?
Yeah, what's your website again, Rick?
It's Ric Lee, TYA.com. That's Rick, R-I-C, no K, LEETYA.com.
Fantastic.
And as I say, the album will be out on Deko Entertainment. If anybody wants to check that out, they can go to Deko's website, which is decoentertainment.com.
Awesome. Well, Rick, you have been tremendous, my friend. This has been great. I'm glad the PR company keeps you hopping because we were able to talk to you today. Thank you, my man.
It's really good to have me on the show. I really appreciate it. And
best of luck with the album launch.
Sorry?
Best of luck with the album launch and
thanks.
the book and everything.
And all the